what you've seen from the big performances under Jones is that there's been a real precision at the beginning of those games where you can see that there's something that they've targeted in training and they've been working on. And I thought, well, from what Mark has said, they've been working towards playing the Springboks, and in particular, a few areas of the Springboks game, their strengths for a few weeks. And I thought at the beginning, England were flawless in the kicking exchanges. They got that 5-metre scrum through Ben Young's grubber after Marcus Smith had found space in the backfield. We'll talk about the scrums in a bit as well, but Richard Cockerell had mentioned in the week that they'd highlighted South Africa's aggressive engage to the refs. Sure enough, they get a free kick and then a penalty because of that exact offence. They went short from the line-out to mitigate Etzebeth and Diego, and then scored from that line-out. But my favourite kind of piece of the game, and the bit that really shone through to me that they'd been working on South Africa's blitz defence was Henry Slade's Rachael Burford-esque pass from first receiver
to Marchant.
Across to Stewart, missing out Marchant, straight across to Stewart, missing out that midfield slice that they played with, and they used an option they hadn't used all autumn. Now that says to me also that you can't take players at face value when they're saying they're just concentrating on the next game, because for sure there were bits in England's preparation throughout the autumn that was targeting how aggressive South Africa are in that 13 channel, and you saw the effect of that in Rafi Quirk's try, because Damien Dilienda stayed narrow on Slade. Marchant was perhaps not respected as much as a running option, and had that hole and was straight through it. It was just really interesting that it felt like England manipulated South Africa with a narrative that they painted themselves. It was fascinating to watch.
I wondered what happened to Am on that one. He seemed to be all over the place, didn't he? He was flailing at Marchant when he took that. And anyone who's seen Marchant play knows he's a decent centre. Mm. He may not be the quickest, but he is elusive and he is dexterous.
I think like Charlie was saying, that you manipulate by playing different plays, and so many eyes are on Marcus Smith and staying tight and watching him as a threat that you often lose what's in the front line as well. So they've definitely teed that up. They've obviously played different options to make South Africa look in on that, and then picked a different one this week.
This is a generic question, Charlie. I mean, when I say to you, what's your main takeaway about the way that England's style has been altered, I also mean for you to try and address if you can, within that, the Farrell conundrum.
Yeah, well, it was in the embargo, so I can't possibly tell you what he said until
right.
10 p.m. But I said, is it now a case that it's 3-2 with Slade, Smith, and Farrell? Because Slade was actually playing the role that Farrell would have played, and you've got to think. I actually think Farrell would have been perfectly capable of throwing that first cut out to Stewart. I think he's a pretty good distributor. It was whether he could play the role that Slade played for the second, where he just edged around Elton Jantjies and sucked in Damien Dielendy as well before freeing Marchant. If I wrote a piece in the week that was kind of saying that Henry Slade, I think it was his 43rd cap at the weekend, and I would have thought that maybe it was only 2 or 3 performances where he'd been influential throughout the 80 minutes for England. He maybe drifted in and out of games a little bit. It was maybe a bit unfair, and England's midfield hasn't exactly been this rock solid thing for him to kind of operate within. But I thought he looked really influential, and him and Smith. And what you've got to remember is that Henry Slade didn't go on the Lions tour, did he? He actually had those 2 games against USA and Canada, and he's now started with Smith for 5 tests in a row. So that relationship has been building, and it's whether that is now the creative kind of the creative hub, I guess, for England's midfield in a way that Farrell and Ford were previously.